Hello my dear students, welcome to the class of 11th English medium, subject statistics for the chapter 2 presentation of data brought to you by Vitan sir. From the previous tutorial, we completed the frequency distribution kind of sums where we had to put the tally marks, the less than type cumulative, more than type cumulative and all that. That was the quantitative data. Now we move forward towards the qualitative data, that is the classification of qualitative data. In other words, tabulation. Now tabulation means preparing tables, and this tabulation has two types. First, simple classification. Second, manifold classification. Okay, before we move forward to what is simple and manifold, we must see that these classifications depend on the number of attributes given in the raw data. Now we know that the numerical data has variables, the value of variables which changes from unit to unit. Similarly, the qualitative data have attributes which also changes from unit to unit, but these attributes are not quantitative. The attributes could not be quantified, means we cannot show it using the numbers, rather we can just express it. For example, we can say gender. Now you can't quantify a gender, it is either a boy or girl or let us LGBTQ etc, but we can't quantify a gender, we can just express it. Second, age. Okay, age can be quantified, but age group is a better method of showing the age. 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, these kind of ages we can't multiplying and dividing an age, all that is bit tedious, rather age is more like an attribute. Second is work position. Okay, you are a clerk, you are a manager, you are a salesperson, you are the executive manager, you are the CEO, you are the owner. These are the work positions which you can hold in your job, so that's an attribute. Then comes marital status. You are either married, unmarried, then there are certain things in between them, but they couldn't be quantified, they are just your status. Then standard in which you are studying or the college year in which you are studying, all of these things are attributes. At the end, area where you are living, state, country, these are the things which are attributes, and we have to try to find these things from the given raw data for the purpose of tabulation. Now let us start with what is a simple classification. The classification prepared on the basis of a single attribute. That means only one attribute is there in the data and we are preparing a classification. Okay, this is an example of that. A table showing designation of the employees working at different branches of a cooperative bank of Ahmedabad city. Now if you see here, the designation of employees is the only attribute given in the question. Okay, the security personnel 20 people are there, peon 30 are there, clerk 40 are there, manager 8 managers are there, and total 98 employees are there. So here the employees are distributed on the basis of their designation, and that's all. So only one attribute is there. So any classification prepared using only one attribute, here designation of employees, then we call it the simple classification. Classification for manifolds, that is a classification prepared on the basis of more than one attribute. Okay, it is very simple. If there is something more than one, then we call it manifold classification. Let us take an example, a table showing designation and gender of the employees. Okay, in the question itself, designation and gender. Okay, two attributes are there in the question, designation and gender of the employees working at different branches of a cooperative bank of Ahmedabad city. Now as you can see in the vertical first column, vertically designation of employees, that is security person, peon, clerk, manager etc is given, and in the horizontally, rather than directly giving the total, gender is mentioned, and genders are two, male and female. So security person has been distributed on the basis of male, female. Peon has been distributed on the basis of male, female. So all of the people designation has been distributed according to males, females. Their horizontal and vertical totals are written. The vertical totals, the total in the last column shows the total number of security personnel, and total at the last row shows the gender wise total of the people. Total males 54, total females 44, and the last right bottom cell shows the total vertically and horizontally, and it should be equal. So this is a table which shows manifold classification, that is more than one attribute. Now, according to your syllabus, practical questions of at the most 3 attributes could be asked. That means the maximum to maximum 3 attributes could be asked. So your questions could be of 1, 2 or 3 attributes. But sometimes blank tables are to be prepared. That means the question is just prepare a table, not to fill up any information. At that time 4 attributes could be asked. Now we will practice all the sums of these 3 attributes and 2 attributes and even the blank tables of 4 attributes in the next tutorial. Okay, right now I am not going to discuss those things with you. Right now I have 2 very important theories regarding this topic. First one is the uses of tabulation. It represents the extensive data in a simple, organized and precise manner. Means the whole data which you have in a big bulky form can be compressed in a small, organized and simple manner which is easy to understand. The time, money and labor required for the study of data is saved as the raw data is compressed in a classified data. In tabulation, characteristics to be compared are placed side by side. Means I want to compare males and females, I want to compare ages, I want to compare the designations. They are side by side, so I can easily compare them with each other. Row and column totals are found in the table. Okay, so the row columns, the row totals, the column totals. So if any errors are there while calculating, while putting the data into the table, our totals will not match, the final total will not match. So that means that we can easily find the errors which we might have done while classifying the raw data into a tabulated data. The analysis of the data becomes simple and convenient if they are presented in the table. Naturally, it is better to analyze a table than to analyze a book. If the data full of book has been drawn into a table, it becomes a lot easier to analyze. The second theory which we are going to study is the guiding rules for tabulation. That means how can we prepare a good table. Appropriate title should be given to the table. Now it is very important. For example, table showing the designation of employees of so and so bank for so and so period, that's an appropriate title. So we must give a title to the table, which you will see I have given to almost all the sums which I will be doing in the future. There should be clear and simple captions to the rows and columns. The designation of employees, so you have to write down clear designation. The gender, so you have to write down genders clearly in the table. So rows and columns must have clear captions, so we can determine that this data belongs to this category. If the figures are too large, then it should be represented in hundreds, thousands, lakhs or crores. For example, we are discussing the GDP of the nations. So we can directly write in the table caption in billions. Okay, and then you can just write the data in 2 or 3 figures. Okay, for example, the India is right now a 2 or 3 trillion economy. So we just write the figure in the table in trillion and just write 2, 3, etc. Okay, top is America and then China and then India and Japan are there. So 4 and 3 and 2 and 1, and in the bracket we can just write in trillions. So that way we don't have to write all those zeros in our table. The interrelated information should be shown adjacent to each other in such a way that the analysis can be done in a simple way, the conclusions can be drawn easily. If we are analyzing for the comparison of 2 informations, we should try to show both the informations side by side in the table so that we can get a quick analysis of those informations. So the related information should be shown together in the table. In order to distinguish between main characteristic of the data in table, it should be separated by lines. Okay, whenever we are showing the characteristic, that means the attributes, we should separate them using the lines. For example, males and females, we should draw a straight line between males and females. If we are showing the designation of clerks and peons and managers, we should show lines between all these three so that we can know that okay, these are the different characteristics. There should be provision for indicating the totals of primary and subsidiary characteristics. Okay, so as we know that male and female subtotals were there, peon and clerks and managers subtotals were there, so those should be shown properly. So we know that okay, these are the subtotals for these particular characteristics, and then at the bottom right corner we have to show the grand total of the whole data. Source of data must be mentioned at the end of the table. Okay, many times if you have seen some magazines or newspapers and the data, the table is given, you will see a star at the end of the table, and the source of the data, the population survey of India and census inquiry of the India and NSSO, etc. organizations or the inquiries are mentioned there. So we also have to mention the source if it is available to us, so that we can verify the authenticity of the data which we are using. Before preparing the final table, a rough table should be prepared. Now this might not be practical, this might not be what we are going to do in our syllabus, but this is a practical thing. That is, in practically in life, whenever you are going to prepare a final table, prepare a rough table with all the calculations and the mentions and what you need to calculate and all that. And then once you are sure that okay, this table is perfect, copy it down properly in a fair form. In sums, in our studies, we are not going to follow that thing naturally, but this is something about the real life. Last, it is better to present as much data as possible in a single table, so that the comparison, computation and analysis becomes easy. So try to squeeze all the data into a single table, but if still the data is too large with so many characteristics and attributes, try to make different tables. Okay, don't squeeze in too many characteristics or attributes in a single table. If there are 10 or 12 different attributes, then you need to prepare 2 to 3, at least 2 to 3 tables, so that you can compare whole data properly. So today we studied what are the tabulations, the types, simple and manifold classifications, the uses of tables, the guiding rules. Next time I will start with some important illustrations and exercise questions for the table. Till then, stay tuned, stay home and stay safe.